Ambrose, the fight everybody's wanted to see for a long, long time. A word on both fighters and how you expect it to go.
Yeah, well, I suppose in some respects I'm uniquely placed or positioned because having worked extensively with both fighters. First things first, it's a fight what everybody wanted. And nobody wants this fight more than them two. You know, the antipathy between the two of them is palpable. Standing there watching it, but this takes us back to the good old days when fights were made on the basis of the demand for them. Demand, you've seen it here with a media conference. Normally it's taboo to do a fight press conference the first week in January. It's just one of those things you don't, and you've seen here, you couldn't move, you know, for media people. So, hey, listen, good times.
Huge interest, as you say. Let's talk about that for a minute. There's a lot of boxing on this year. A lot of players in the market. Good or bad thing for the sport? Have we reached saturation, or are we in a place where the punters never had it so good?
On a scale of 10, we're not even on 3. Saturation, I can't see it, I can't feel it. And the reason I say this is 38 teams in the Premiership, well, 38 games are played by teams in the Premiership. And so it's one of those, is there too much of a demand? No. These brands that are football clubs have marketing divisions, and the marketing divisions go out into the marketplace and try to create solid return path. So it's nowhere near. It's more a case of, you know, heightened awareness than it is saturation point. Nowhere near saturation point. Not.
Okay. I don't know, I wasn't here for part of the press conference, but my cameraman tells me it was suggested that the winner doesn't really have nowhere to go. I don't believe that in this day and age, so many options. But with Chunky having had so many tough fights of recent, firstly, what type of man's going to come out to face Eubank on the 23rd of February? And what have those fights taken out of him, in your opinion?
Well, first things first, let me just say it as it is. James Degale is the most talented athlete I've ever been associated with. And I've been associated with a few people. His skill is unbelievable. But God helps those who help themselves. And if James goes into this fight with utilising all his strengths, and Eubank does the same, it's an intriguing matchup. But James's skill set exceeds that of Junior. And we saw that in the George Groves fight, where you got stuck in a rut. Now 2 or 3 fights down the road, even if you had losses, Eubank might think differently. But it was almost like he was staring at headlights while sitting in the middle of the road. You know, couldn't effect a change because it wasn't all about what he needed to do, it's what George was making him do. And make no mistake, James Degale has the skill set to do this, to do exactly that. All those tough fights, you saw the result of tough fights. James is saying it's almost valedictory. You know, it's all or nothing. I win this fight, it's all or nothing. And I can't see beyond the abyss. And the abyss is where the loser goes to. Whereas from Eubank's point of view, when he was asked for his opinion, it was that this is it's a big fight, but it's another day at the office. I'm nowhere near. And you can do that when you have this youthful zest and effervescence. You can do that. But what an intriguing matchup. And of course, as well as anything else, everything goes back to that famous spar that they had in the Degale gym, of course. And I was there. In fact, I organised the sparring.
Didn't you leak the footage as well?
No, never. I've got the footage, and I would never leak it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I would never leak it.
I had to ask you on camera so that you can put it out straight.
I would never leak it. And even now, it's a clamour like, you know, can I? The answer is no. Because it will, you know...
No, I get it, I understand.
Set the equilibrium, the balance that there is at the present moment. What's in the gym should stay in the gym. And if...
Do you still believe that in this day and age of everything's out in the open now?
Well, it's like football. What happens on the training ground is on the training ground.
Even then, there's a camera there and it leaks, and do you know what I mean? It's a different environment. But
if the media get it, but it's not something that should be thrown out there No, it shouldn't.
It's funny, I'm asking that because I saw Adrian Broner talk about he didn't talk about some sparring that happened with Tank. And he said what you said, what goes on in the gym stays in the gym.
Yeah.
Because
there are many, look, I've had many opportunities to witness things happening in a gymnasium. But that's the trial area, it's a preparatory area. So none of it stands up to scrutiny, in my humble opinion, it doesn't.
10 years after James won gold, or 11 years now, and became the first man to turn professional and then win a title, first man in British history. 11 years after that, is he given all he can give to this sport and his country? And can he now ride off into the sunset and be, heralded as somebody who's brought about a legacy?
James won't know his legacy until he's 5 years retired. Then people will acclaim him. Look, you went out to the United States, you conquered all before you, you took the hard fights, and you came back. And as Richard Proxon said at the press conference, it's not how you go down, it's how you get up. When he lost his title in a shock, he went straight back in with the same person, me and you. It's almost like the playground thing, isn't it? Like, we've had a fight, you beat me, after school I come to go, me and you, let's go again. And if you knock me down or you beat me or whatever, I'll take it. So James went in and he did exactly that. Now, of course, I can attest to the injuries that he's suffered. And to come back from those injuries, we all know, like, it's niggling and creeping and whatever it is. And remember, he is a God-given athlete, so he's a perfectionist. Everything he wants to do, he wants to land the perfect punch from where his feet are. So it's textbook. And then he has this extraordinary bolo punch that served him so well, like with the Degale fight. So James rises to pressure. Eubank savours pressure. Eubank doesn't know. Like James said at the outset of the press conference, with regards to Eubank, you're deluded. You think you won against George Groves and against Billy Joe, and admit it, you lost to them. And of course he can't find it within himself. But then maybe he has different criteria that he's measuring things by. And again, I think this is probably because he sees himself still boxing 4 or 5 years from now. James Degale, at his height, lovely, charming, personable, family man, fantastic. And he is a committed boxer. He doesn't have he isn't running 10 grocery shops or whatever. That's what he does. He boxes. He's invested his life really well. He owns a numerous amount of properties. He's still got that family connection. But this is a fight game, and it shows no mercy for anybody. And when this bell goes, can I describe a fight that it would be similar to? Maybe Errol Christie, God bless his soul, and Mark Kaler, where they came in. That's the depth of grudge. The grudge that these two have in this fight is definitely reminiscent of Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. Most definitely.
See those similarities?
And absolutely. And funny enough, we're in the same building. That Nick Owen thing that you watched on the following morning after that ITV conference, it was in here. And we had to keep him in separate rooms. And Eubank inadvertently wandered into a room, and Nigel Benn went berserk. And of course, media people and everybody else jumped on top to separate them. And of course, I saw Nigel about 3 weeks ago, a week before Christmas. And of course you can laugh, but then there's still that glint in the eye. And I think that's what it always will be with these two. They are natural opposites to each other.
If it's the kind of tear-up you're describing, it could be the first of a few, or?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This. I mean, from James's point of view, James Degale beats Chris Eubank. There are massive fights out. He can bring in George Groves, another fight that the people want to see. He can can fight.
I've always wanted to see that one.
Yeah, he can fight Callum Smith. And once again, everybody wants to see. James did the sensible thing when he gave up the title. That takes all the pressures away. Now, as you say, when you're champion, you fight everybody. When you are not the champion, you can, and you're still box office, you can choose the fights that you want. And that's the key. I think because James has spent so much time abroad, he hasn't given that up to the public. He had said this when he first vacated the title, which he worked so hard for. He did say, I want to fight the big fights, and that's saying that is valedictory. I want the wars. I don't want the little battles. I want the wars. And with the wars, is a select few, who that echelon of war. It's all very well saying I want a war. You've got to show your capability of war, your sustainability in the field, and that's, I think, James. There's no substitute for experience. James has a world of experience greater than Eubank, but Eubank is a great learner. He's going to come out that corner, Eubank, like a Dwight Mohammed quiet. Pressure. He's going to just try pressure. James is fleet of foot, got a whole library of moves and everything else. This is one for the, it'll get interesting between 7 and 11.
We heard it here first.